Hello, welcome. My name is JesseMcDesign. Today we're going to be building this Evil Dead cabin birdhouse. Let's get started. Alright, so this week's project is going to be a pretty fun one. It might take a little bit longer than I'm expecting, but that's okay. I have a couple other projects that I've already finished. But it's going to be Evil Dead birdhouse. I'll pop up a photo of what the person who commissioned this sent me, which is, you know, someone made this birdhouse who knows when. And then I went online and found a bunch of really nice references. Someone did up in like a digital form of some kind. I don't know exactly how they did it, but they look really nice. So what I went ahead and did was print out the front full size, and I basically just measured out the front door. I'm gonna just either take out completely or I'll have it completely open. I haven't really figured out on that yet, but I'm gonna leave it open either way. And I basically just measured that opening to be the normal opening of a birdhouse, which I just Googled, which I think was like 1.25 inches. And then I just printed this out in scale to that. So this is what we're looking at. And I already did a rough measurement. It's going to be roughly 14 by 6 by 8. So that's pretty big, but I think it'll be a perfect little size once we get it all done. So what I'm going to do now is actually just start measuring out all these basic panels, which is going to be fairly simple. I think it's going to be, you know, the front and the back are just big rectangles. The base is going to be one large rectangle, and then the sides are going to be like that classic house shape, like a square with the point for the roof. And then once we get all those pieces laid out, we'll get them cut out, and then we'll really be able to figure out everything else off of that. So what I'm going to do is just quite literally measuring directly off of this picture, and we're going to be just transferring those basic shapes I was talking about onto my plywood here, and then we'll go ahead and get those cut out and rough attached to start figuring out the rest of this little details and stuff. So now that we got all our main structural pieces cut out, you saw I drilled holes for the windows and cut those out as well too. I didn't quite think about it before. I'm gonna have to get some sort of like a plastic to glue on the inside for the windows, because I did want them see-through, but I was gonna leave them open because there's gonna be a bunch of like wood planks and stuff going over them, so nothing's gonna get in or out. But I also then thought, like, you know, a bird's gonna want to be in here to be like protected and everything, so I'm gonna completely block those off so no wind or anything is going through there. And the only thing that's open is gonna be the front door. I'll have to go to the craft store at some point to get that, but that's nothing really. I'm not really too worried about that. I'll leave the top open till I do that, so I can reach in there and glue those in place, and it won't be too big of a deal. But when I came back, I just quickly scuffed off that rough edge from the jigsaw with just some 80 grit, just really quick to get that clean so it's not too messy. And again, this project doesn't really, it's okay because it's going to be like an old cabin. It's going to look old and cruddy and stuff anyway, definitely near the end when I get it, start weathering and doing all the fun stuff like that. So like cutting all this stuff out with the jigsaw, all these corners aren't gonna line up super perfect, which again I'm okay with. I wanna get it all together, it's gonna look fine. I did do a slight off measure and I had to go back and recut off two sides to make this all fit how I want it to fit, but nothing major. So now what we're gonna do is just start clamping the walls of this house together. We're gonna glue it and then put a couple screws in there to make sure it's super secure, and then we'll mount it to the base. Again, glue it and screw it from the bottom, make sure everything's super secure. How I'm gonna do the chimney is something like this. This will be the outside that's gonna sit on here, and then so you know we got a little chimney action. I'm not quite sure how I'm gonna make the brick texture yet. I might do a layer of clay or something. I might just wood burn it in maybe. I don't know, we'll see when we get there. But right now, let's get all this together. So I ended up having to go to Michael's to get some this plastic sheeting, just super thin, almost paper-like plastic material. It's not completely see-through, but enough. And there's like a rough side and then a smooth side. I used the rough side to help with the glue to adhere, and I just simply super glued those on the inside and used an accelerator spray so it went really fast. And then I went around everything when it was all attached and added some little extra bits of super glue to make sure everything's really sealed off at this point. Like if I were to take this outside and like spray it with water, it should be pretty much sealed all the way. But now that we have this, I actually went ahead and took all my popsicle sticks and cut off the rounded edges to make little planks. And we're just gonna start gluing on all these planks. We're gonna have to cut around the windows and the doorways a little bit, and then once we get up into these, you know, the roof peaks, we're gonna have to cut around those a little bit. But you know, super simple. I'm actually using scissors to cut these, so it's fairly easy. Can't really make it much more simpler than that. But I'm gonna be using wood glue, and I think it should be fine. I think it should hold everything together. As I'm gluing it on, I'm gonna add some weights to it to help make sure it doesn't move and it actually secures as good as I can possibly get it. So let's move on to some of this fun stuff. I'm gonna work my way around the walls first so that when we do the roof, it can lay on top and I'm not trying to work underneath the roof being peeked over a little bit. And also we'll have to figure out the porch roof. That's a whole nother little bit that we have to figure out. But again, I want to do this, at least this front wall first, and then we can kind of work around the posts and stuff on the porch, which is going to be a whole nother thing. I might screw those in from the bottom to really attach everything to make sure that roof is super solid and secure as well. But we'll get to that later. All right, so we got quite a bit done, as you can see here. We got all the siding laid out. We trimmed out all the windows, the doorway here. We even trimmed the corners really nice, and we got the whole porch area lined up as well. It's looking really nice. Basically done. I might do some other stuff to trim it out even more, but we'll see if we get there. I basically just have to do the roof and the chimney still on this, but I kind of want to wait for those for last. because we still have to figure out the roof of the porch here. And actually one thing I'm super happy about is that this is like supposed to be a rugged cabin in the woods, so it's not perfect in any way, because all these popsicle sticks are definitely not uniform. You know, some of them are curved, some of them are wider than the others, and it's created some little gaps here and there and little imperfections. But I think in the very end it'll be all right, because you know, some of it's going to be hidden by the roof and the porch roof as well, and just little details that you won't ever see anyway, really. But if I had to make it perfect, it would be a lot more work making all these planks uniform and really taking the time to do all that. But right now I think the next logical step is working on this roof. That's one reason I did the trimming of all these windows and stuff first, because it'd be a lot easier to do that now rather than after I put the roof on and I'm trying to work inside the roof. That'd be a pain, obviously. What I think we're gonna do now is we're gonna figure out the angle we want to put this at. Oops, I can't really see that. Here we go. I'm gonna put it at, figure out the angle here. If we want it down like that, we don't really want it flat like that. We want it slightly down, so probably somewhere in there. You know, I don't want to get too crazy, and you know, I want to stay true to the reference. But once we figure that out, I'll go ahead and cut up some dowel rods for the porch uprights. And once we get that figured out, I'm gonna glue all this in place, as well as probably at the very least nail it all together as well, to make sure it's super solid, it's not gonna come apart. So I suppose we'll get that done. So you saw me measure that out by eye, and when I marked it and put it into my little jig thing here, I don't know what this is called, miter box I think, it actually was pretty close to 22.5, which is half of 45, which is a pretty common, you know, it's one of the settings on this. So I just went with that. If you're wondering, you want to make one along or whatever. So now that I got that angle, I can figure out the shape of the like rafter pieces that are going to go on the underside of this. And I think I want to build all of that out first, because I can just, you know, build it out here freely again, instead of trying to work inside of this and making it way more difficult than it needs to be. So my next process is going to be cutting out a bunch of those and gluing them up, and then we'll glue them up on here, and then we'll attach this roof to this roof along with the posts and everything. And I think that'll just be a lot easier and it'll make a lot more sense. And then of course at the end we'll throw on the roof planks and do something with the chimney. I have a couple ideas, but I haven't quite figured that out yet, so we'll get there when we get there. Alright, so I was working on the roof piece, making all these rafter pieces and everything, and I almost forgot that I had to make all the window shutters. So I went ahead and knocked all those out. They're getting there pretty well. I still have to make the cross beams, but they're coming together. We'll actually finish these first again, because I thought I was ready to move on, but I'm not. So I'm gonna knock these out, get these in place, and then we'll go on to the porch roof and everything. But I also made a little door. You can tell the difference here, it's a little bit bigger. And again, I'm gonna put a cross beam on that, and that'll probably just sit open, I'm thinking, slightly open. And once we get the shutters in, I do think I'm gonna put like a little windowsill type thing on the bottom portion of the windows, just to add another little detail that I think will work really well. Since I got these all pretty much ready to go, I got them glued up, I had them pressed so they're fully cured, I'm pretty sure. So now what I'm gonna do is figure out all these little cross beams and get all those glued in, and then we'll get to attaching them. So now that we got all our shutters glued on, it's starting to look really nice. I like it a lot. Kind of see what we got going on there. I also got the door in its place as well. I put it on that side because this side's gonna have the swing, so I figured it would level it out a little bit, and then this side will have that little vine wall or whatever. And I also got all my little rib pieces for the porch roof glued in, and then I went ahead and did this off camera because I wasn't sure how I was gonna do it, and I just kind of figured it out and just did it. But what I did was roughly line these in place while holding the roof just kind of in place. And then I marked each of the I marked around each post to get a center point, and then I hammered a nail down through it to make sure it was gonna line up when it came back up. So I hammered down through and then hammered it back up from the bottom side, which is creating little spikes right now. I don't know how well you can see those, but they're like 1/8 of an inch just sticking out just to get the alignment in place. And then I did the same exact thing with the roof, except I got these ones completely in place, just with the nail. Once I get this section all together, I'll go ahead and reinforce all those little spots with glue as well. I'll actually probably put a dab of wood glue on the porch side, and then I'll flip it over and reinforce the inside with probably like hot glue or something, just to make sure all those are really nice in place. And we're gonna be shingling over the top of these nails anyway. It's not gonna go anywhere, but just extra security. And we'll have to go inside and reinforce the backs of all these ribs anyway, so it won't take much to get those little spots as well. But we're pretty much ready to get this roof on, and then we can start doing these final shingles, finish up this chimney, then we can get to some painting and making this thing look old and rustic. So we're coming up on the last few things here. I think I'm gonna move on to getting this roof knocked out. Fairly simple, you know, just flat surfaces all the way around. I am gonna do the porch roof first though, I believe. And then I'll layer the roof kind of on top of it, how you normally would in traditional type things. You wanna layer, you know, the bottom on top so rain and everything trickles down properly and not underneath all of this nonsense. So just want to treat it kind of normal because this will be outside, and I will have everything sealed really nice, but just make it look that more realistic. And then we're going to save the very final details for last, which will be the vine wall on the far end over there. Each of these posts get wrapped in a vine type deal, and then we're going to build out a little porch swing that will actually swing. I'm gonna attach some very small chain to it so it'll actually move around in the wind or whatever, so that'll be cool. So let's get onto this roof. finally, final stage, we're gonna paint this thing. I'm kind of hiding the front here. I did a few final details. I'm gonna keep it a little secret hidden till the final shots here. But it's coming along great. I'm super happy with it. But I'm gonna throw on one final time lapse. We're gonna get this thing painted. You're gonna get probably a couple little sneak peeks there, and then we'll get you the final shots and my final thoughts. Alright, so there you have it. I'm super happy with how this thing came out. I've never really done anything quite like this. You know, obviously little things that are similar, but I'm super happy with it. The main structure definitely isn't going to fall apart. It's all screwed or nailed and glued together. And then all these other little details are simply glued on. But I mean, it's super secure, like proper wood glue, and then I went ahead and glued the seams and everything. Then at the very end, I coated everything in a matte clear. So even if you put this outside, it should be good for most conditions. I wouldn't leave it out in like a super crazy storm. If this did fall or fall out of a tree or something, you might risk breaking little pieces here and there, but nothing too crazy. I think anything that happens would be fixable. One thing I do wish I did is just if you peek inside, I left it raw wood, and I think I probably should have maybe like painted it black or stained it a little bit darker to kind of match all this, because if you peek in there it looks kind of awkward. But it's a birdhouse, so I also wanted to leave it bare so, you know, birds aren't gonna like nibble on it and get sick or anything. So I don't know. I also like, you know, I made the swing actually functional. It's a real swing. It actually moves. It's hanging on chains. And just all the little details. Like I said in the beginning, I think I've never really watched this movie. It's kind of an older one. But off of the references I looked up, like I said, I don't think I could be much happier. Super, super cool. It hangs real nice. I had to kind of offset it because of the porch, puts a little weight on the front. But I got that all figured out. But if you like what you saw, hit the thumbs up. It really helps. If you want to see more, hit the subscribe. I'm always over here making some sort of creative project. Normally a painting, a leather good, some sort of furniture decor type deal. Who knows? Leave in the comments below what I should do next. See you on the next one.